Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another scene set in Darkness and Dublin, a Vampire Masquerade venue. Tonight, we set the scene with Francis and Katja just outside the Leaf restaurant, not the Heron and Grey, as it has been sold on and renamed, and that is real life news. That is fact. Stranger than fiction. So they meet up outside of the Leaf restaurant. On one of 7 very dark and gloomy nights that are currently encompassing Dublin and perhaps the world at large, as it slowly teeters towards its ultimate destruction.
From on high, a green moon looks down from overhead, casting a sickly, pallid light upon the ground. Though the people, those who inhabit this city, the cockroaches, the ants, don't seem to notice.
Never found him more sleep.
It's more Shalab, but okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But yes, Francis is just waiting outside what is, at this point, effectively his restaurant. This has been rebranded and is merely waiting for Katja and her luxurious limousine.
Yes, she pulls up in the limo as she often does, and the door's opened by one of her blood siblings, as she just is not a huge fan of driving, so she would step out of the car wearing a red one-shoulder dress and move over to greet Francis with a kiss on either cheek. Evening, Seneschal.
Evening, Primogen. Shall head inside.
Indeed.
The sky's looking rather dire.
Yes. Well, there is that.
So, yeah, he'll kind of give her a ladies first gesture.
She would head on in and take in the restaurant, as she hasn't been here yet, so...
If I recall from the imagery, it's rather small, but it has a Michelin star, so you know it serves excellent food. Not to the same extent as Delano's or the Giovanni's, but top tier nonetheless. And you'll probably just
lovely place you've procured here, Francis.
I remember when I first came here, I pulled some strings to get a few late night dinners here. It was, what can I say? It grew on me.
Left an impression?
Yes.
And the Major D walks up to Francis and he clicks his heels before he says, Mr. Belmont, or Beaumont, pleasure to see you again this evening, sir. His name is Timothy.
Francis smiles at Timothy. And he'll just say, a pleasure to see you again, Timothy. What's on the menu
I've already taken...
No, actually, no.
Oh, sorry, continue.
No, that's fine, that's fine. If he's already taken my order, I'll add Francis, don't say that.
But no, he said, I've already taken the liberty of showing your other 2 guests into the private room, sir.
Other 2 guests?
Yes, sir. They informed me that they were dining with you this evening. They gave me this. He holds out a small black box.
Francis looks at the box. Is it literally a black box?
No, it's just a small. It's almost like something you would see an elongated, so not like a ring box, but an elongated, like a necklace box piece of jewelry in.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, thank you.
Do you open the box?
I'm going to open the box, yes.
Cool. Inside, you see a single white ivory carved chess piece of a king.
Okay. He just kind of stares at it for a little bit, kind of taking in the vague meaning other than it being the moniker of someone he does not like.
The young lady has taken the liberty of ordering drinks for you. I'll bring those along momentarily. So, oh, my apologies, madam. May I please take your coat?
Yes, she would take off the coat that she's wearing and hand it to him.
Much obliged, much obliged. He proceeds to posh in the other direction.
Well, I could have swore that we had made plans to eat alone tonight.
Francis does not have words.
Katja would notice this and kind of take his hand. Francis, are you all right?
I've been through worse. Well, I suppose we should head to our table then.
Yes, I suppose so.
And yes, actually, no, it would be unwise to do that here at this moment. He'll wait until after this whole meeting's concluded to do the specs thing on the chess piece.
Okay. As you enter into the small private room, you will indeed see the individual here pictured sitting in one of the chairs. The other chair is occupied by this young woman, who looks to be very, very young, like just out of her late teens or mid to late teens.
Okay.
And she's sitting there, and she has a glass of what appears to be wine in her hand as she swirls it around. Ah, Sheriff, or should I say Seneschal Beaumont? Pleasure. Pleasure.
Pleasure. I don't believe you've been introduced. You
I'm
have me at a disadvantage.
Oh, not at all. I'm led to understand that you're already very familiar with my colleague. Spectre gives you a look that could be a mixture between, we meet again, Anatoly, and quasi-respect. Like,
Katja never saw Spectre's face last time, did she?
Nope. Though you do
Okay.
feel a strange draw to him.
Francis does not laugh out of character because he does not know, but
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Marshalem of His Holy Inquisition. Bonnie Gorotrix, if it helps.
oh yes, I believe it does. The Inquisition, that's... I take it time to be very, very honored and very wary.
Ultimately, I'm not here for conflict. We both, and she points directly upwards, have a much more sinister threat.
Yes.
My superiors have agreed that this threat requires our full attention. So it is I've been diverted away from the French campaign in order to lend what aid I can.
I must say it is appreciated. The Red Lister has proven to be, well, he kind of eyes towards where upwards, sort of in the vague direction of where the moon might be.
We now suspect Archbishop Petrovich of being a traitor and having been in league with him. So, this is the fate, unfortunately. You will forgive me for saying I am not an individual whom follows the rabid beliefs of a false religion such as the rest of the Sabbat is, but the religion itself is a useful tool to keep control. I believe in control, and I unfortunately believe that now we are losing it.
Sorry, she said using religion to keep
The masses in line, basically. She's saying, I don't believe in all of this hokey-folky religious nonsense, but it's great as a tool to keep people in line for control. However, now we are losing control.
Hmm. Yes, all that is happening won't mean much if the world ends tomorrow.
You and I have in agreement. Our sides can quite happily go back to murdering each other to their heart's content, whatever they perceive to be their ideology, when the world doesn't end.
Yes, I do think if there is one piece of common ground that 2-6 can come to terms with, is that we rather like this plane of existence.
Of all the planes of existence I have in fact strolled through, this is one of my favorites, yes.
Do you know of the Archbishop's ties to the Red Lister?
I, in truth, do not. I am led to understand that they both originated from a similar positioning, rather that they came from the same locale. Perhaps it is an old friendship or an old rival. I'm not exactly sure. But I do believe that the individual from the writings I have been able to discover believed in this concept of, and she uses finger quotes, a new Eden, and was ready to die for its achievement, believing that Aishar would be able to will him back to existence when it was that he diablerized God.
That'd explain why he was so eager for us to kill him. Something I actually did need to discuss of other kindred was the Red Lister's ties to, or his attempt to emulate rather the kindred known as Cappadocius. That is the one he's trying to copy, if I recall correctly.
It's interesting how it is that the Camarilla desperately do attempt to subvert the concepts of what is truth and what is lies. Ultimately, they choose to have a veneer, a sheen, a mirrored image of everything being as it is, when it is that many of them themselves know the antediluvians are a fact. They walked the earth. Cappadocius is merely one of them. Diablerized by the leader of the now nascent Giovanni, and so it was the Giovanni family were born proper.
Very much a series of cycles, from what I can tell.
The same way that our own clan, she says, smiling at Katya, because, hi, same clan. Hi.
Oh yeah, she probably sees the traitor's mark on her forehead.
Yep.
Yeah, Katja finally kind of looks away from Spectre, kind of shaking her head a little bit.
The same as you and I hail from the blood of Tremere, who diablerized the antediluvian Saulot in order to gain his power. Fascinating individual.
You kind of, just will wait for Katja to react to that, because she's the one being talked to.
Katja's not really sure how to react. She knows pretty much only what the clan has told her. So,
I mean, from their perspective, they probably told you that Tremere liberated the blood of the evil infernalist Saulot.
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds a little different than the tale that the council spins.
Yes, but then again, you have to remember my lord was originally the first on the council, and yet left due to the Tremere's own hypocrisy. She's smart. She points to the brand. You can't, obviously, Francis, you can't see it, but Katya can on her forehead. It's kind of off to the left. She points to it and she says, "And this is the mark I bear for freedom. I consider it a mark well earned."
Katja would nod.
However, I am not a monster. I spend most of my time hunting real monsters. After all, my organization is so inherently chaotic that unfortunately it makes them very liable to fall to the influences of corrupting forces such as the Sabbat, or sorry, such as demons and extraplanar beings. So, I am here to render what assistance my sect can in the crushing of this individual. What is it that you require of us, Seneschal?
Francis thinks for a moment as he has to filter through a lot of information.
You mentioned the Archbishop and Ishar come from the same place.
Yes.
A small group of us are heading to that very place very soon.
Actually, hang on. Out of character, am I running that this evening?
I think that's tomorrow.
Hang on, I need to check. Continue.
To see if we can glean any information about Ishar that might give us an edge.
Interesting.
There's actually something I collected from the former Gangrel Primogen's domain.
Oh.
Something recovered from the Red Lister's former chantry in Louisiana.
You may wish to be a bit more specific.
What was it, OC, again?
It was a series. It was a small collection of 3 pieces of paper that were written in a very ancient stylistic Latin, wherein the ponderances of the nature of God, the soul, and if kindred themselves were meant to basically be the entity that destroyed God so that God could ultimately rest. It was postulated, and it was basically writings via Cappadocius.
Okay.
They were his personal meditations, basically.
Okay. Yeah, in which case Francis will explain that to them.
Well, now you understand why it is the Sabbat do believe that the destruction of these antediluvians is necessary. Whenever their ideals pop up, well, we have entities like this, and whenever they wake up, we have what happened in Bangladesh.
I heard about that. If I recall when that happened, I was in Athens at the time. Or
I'm
the
curious, what
Ravnos.
lie did they tell you? Obviously, you Camarilla lapdogs don't necessarily believe in the antediluvians because your sires tell you not to at your coffin side. But I'm curious, how did they lie about that one?
I think for a good portion of us, it was simply radio silence. After all, you'd be hard pressed to tell there was anything going on if there weren't Ravnos in your domain. Most of that particular apocalypse happened in one place, quite far away from prying eyes. And if I'm correct, I don't believe many, if anyone, survived that particular affair over there. There were going to be investigations, but well.
It caused the fall of the Ventrue Principality of Bombay. I believe that was about the only thing of interest.
No. Every Ravnos in Europe going into a bloodthirsty rage for a few weeks, but the Ravnos are not particularly well understood being outside any sect, so it was fairly easy to write off.
But this Aisha wants to open up the last door, essentially, empowering himself through his master's energies to unlock the door and take the final step, ascending to the plane wherein, if the Almighty exists and is not just a feeble construct of man, to sink his teeth into his throat and eventually create his new Eden. Charming.
Yes.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So, I repeat my offer. What is it that you require of us, Seneschal? For the record, she's like the straightest talking, not crazy Sabat you've ever spoken to. It's
Yeah, this is like the first reasonable Sabat. It's quite nice, actually.
My theory is that most of their higher ups are like this because,
the higher up Sabat politics, I think it's directly said in a lot of source material, is eerily like Camarilla politics. Like you have all the crazy ones at the bottom, and it's kind of Camarilla
occasionally
hype.
Sasha Vikos just walks through the room.
And and everybody's like, that's the 1% are crazy. We needed to make up for the lack of Markavians, you see. He thinks we have a map. Tells us where Aisha is at any particular point in time. Problem, of course, is that he's able to teleport around all over the place whenever he wills it.
She disappears and reappears directly behind you. It is rather useful. She did that just to fuck with you.
Francis. That sounds a lot like Francis.
It's also kind of what Katja sounds like right now. She's gonna kind of, move that so that her back is against a wall.
Francis looks nonplussed, but otherwise not particularly threatened because this has been a very straight talking conversation.
She moves back to her chair.
Yes, very much like that, which enables him to more or less just depart from any situation in which he might be threatened. I know someone that could do him. How to say this? I know someone that could do him great harm without doing him great harm.
Oh, so what you're going to say is, oh, great and honored member of the Inquisition, great high upon high, fist of the Father and sword of Cain, can you please give me something that prevents him, and I quote, poofing to other destinations?
In summary, yes.
What's an interesting concept?
I mean, I could also give you vague suggestions of we need something to stop his ritual, but we don't necessarily know what that is in particular detail, so...
Oh, I do.
Oh, interesting.
Oddly enough, when you summon these, when you study these acts, you tend to get rather good at them. Also, Aisha is not the first person to attempt this unlocking ritual.
Who came before him?
I assume he simply got the furthest.
An individual named Cuthbert the Thrice Martyred. Guess why he was 3 times martyred? Ultimately, you actually have an advantage in this situation. I do not need to anti-poof him. Because once the ritual has begun, and by the sky, it already has begun, he cannot leave the locus, or the ritual will fail.
The locus, is that the city in general or a specific place?
In a specific place. There will be 7... I do not wish to call them doorways, but 7 archways, each one lined in front of the other, over which there will be a single gemstone, a bright hue. These must all be incanted into life, one after another over 7 nights. On the 7th night, at the rising of the moon at midnight, the 7th door will open, at which point all of these gateways will become one, and that which is without may be within, and that which is above will be below. And so it is. The world shall cry blackened tears. Poetic person now, dear Cuthbert.
I was going to say, if the intent wasn't so apocalyptic, I might even applaud.
So he will not be able to leave his ritual, his locus point. He will not be stationary, he will be able to defend it, but he will not be able to leave it.
He also had several... Well, you would know more of them than I do. You created them.
And technically, he created them.
But yes.
But yes, he will no doubt be well defended. He has already given the body of one of your individual friends, I believe her name was Monique, to one of the outsiders who now inhabits it. Essentially, she is a puppet on a string.
Yes.
Hey, Bishop, what's Francis's aura like when she says that?
Oh, kind of sad.
You sad? You
He's
sad?
sad. Oh, yeah, it's, Monique's just kind of like dead now, and that's, well, I mean, he knows her soul is still around, but not having a body, I mean, kind of.
No, Ambrogino has her soul.
I thought Maui had it.
Oh yes, Maui has her. Maui had her soul.
Who has it now? That's
That's
a good question.
That's a very interesting question. I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows.
You get it, Monique, you're sad. But yeah, no, Francis looks a bit sad at that. His expression isn't quite as pronounced as his aura, obviously, but yeah.
But I have kept you 2 lovebirds from your meal long enough. She stands. We will be there in order to see to it that this creature meets his final end. I'd rather that your side not attempt to kill me.
Likewise, in fact, I was going to... There is something on at night you might be able to do for me. I said I could call potentially someone that could do Aisha great harm without doing him great harm.
Yes.
The problem with this person is that if they are struck, they won't fight back. But their mere presence could be extremely disruptive to Aisha. Not because he'd harm Aisha, but because he'd attempt to redeem him. It makes sense in context.
Oh yes, absolutely. But you understand the reaction of that. That was great.
Yes. Francis understands the reaction of that. He's not actually annoyed. He's actually kind of entertained by the response because he expected it, and well, it's going to be interesting when it actually happens.
Katja actually looks extremely distracted right now.
The problem is, someone like, say, Stolheim might have a vested interest in getting rid of this individual before they're even able to reach Aisha. It's hard to say really where his interests really lie. He'd certainly go at him after.
Oh, if you're telling me I get to take a hit, if you're telling me I get to take a hit at killing Alexander Stolheim, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
All I'm saying is if he takes a shot at this particular individual, well, the world's on the line. We can't afford partisanship to get in the way of the world's preservation. It's not really on the table here.
I, the child of Goratrix, and he, the child of Lady Merlinda, locked in mortal combat. That's poetic. I like that. Continue.
All I'm saying is I'm certain Stalheim will be here at any rate. So if you two wish to go at it after the fact, I'm not going to complain, to be honest. That's frankly the decision between you two. I'm just, I might take the opportunity to take a really scenic walk home. But this individual, they're going to need help getting to Aisha.
You tell me where they are. I'll set you up a mirror.
I'll find out where they are. They've recently been moved out of Dublin. I need to move them back in before the world ends, obviously, so.
Done. Very well, Spectre, we're leaving. The two of them will stand up.
And that's the moment that Katja realizes that's the fucker who damn near killed her.
Yep.
Francis, what was the Goratrix girl's name again? I feel bad for not remembering.
Amberlynth.
At which point, if Katja's face could pale, it would.
Sorry, Amberlynth?
Amberlynth.
Amberlynth.
Which is ironic, because that's also the name of the Lamian bodyguard my current build character has. That's neither here nor there.
Side eye.
Amberlynth.
In which case, I appreciate you meeting with us. Have a pleasant evening, Amberlynth, Spectre.
If it helps, I wasn't going to, but your grandsire makes such pretty noises from his cell. I was inspired.
I'm gonna roll friends and I'll spend willpower as well. That's not bad. Doesn't make me happy.
If you want to ask her any questions about that, she's walking out the door.
1 second. Allow me to make a check real quick. Okay. No, Francis is going to say, and what is that exactly supposed to mean?
He attempted to lead a sortie against us in Toulouse. We captured him. There's a smile.
I see. Good evening.
As she disappears, she'll say one thing. I'm led to understand that your great grandaunt, yes, your great grandaunt is rather, your great blood grandaunt is looking forward to their reunion. And she vanishes. Expecting.
Francis.
At which point, Katja's gonna come over and just hug Francis because she's a little freaked out herself now.
Yeah, Francis kind of is surprised to get hugged. He looks fairly darkly into the void, as they vanish. And he'll just, awkwardly kind of pat Katja's poor shoulder. Has Katja got
You
anything to
can't
say?
leave.
Can't leave.
As much as you'd like to go save him.
I don't even know where he is.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. My grandsire is... He is no meek child. We've both been in worse situations. Wouldn't be the first time for either of us.
So, that was Spectre, huh? I never actually saw him when he held a shotgun to my head and staked me in the back. Question, Evan. Since Katja has been bloodbound, would she recognize the feeling?
Yes.
And now I think I have something that I need to tell you.
Shoot.
I think while I was staked, I think he may have bloodbound me.
Francis nods. He looks surprisingly unsurprised. This doesn't faze him particularly much. That doesn't surprise me.
Because I felt that draw when he was in the room.
Fairly easy to tell, from my understanding, when you like someone you should hate. Am I wrong?
Yes. Well, I suppose this put a damper on our plans for the evening.
To be fair, we have about half a dozen nights until it all ends, so it was never particularly bright to begin with, considering we have the moon quite literally hanging over our heads.
Yes. On that note, you're a member of her clan, you're also the seneschal. You need to know. I've been commanded to kill Charlotte. This order comes from Lady Merlinda herself.
Feel like a waiter with a comical stack of plates.
I'm sorry. I know it's not the best time, but
No, but then again, timing doesn't really seem to be the
time
forte
isn't
of it.
particularly on our side.
Rare thing for it to be. Yes, and I understand that very few Kindred and Dunblin tend to have a very attuned sense of timing. Something
I
that
do
goes a little.
try, but given, well, the entire situation, nothing is going to be in good timing at this point.
I feel as if people keep throwing you off your rhythm.
What do you mean?
Well, it's as if you have a fine sense of timing, then people keep interrupting your pace. It's must be quite frustrating.
Just a bit. Generally, my timing is pretty good, but lately things have just been one crises after another, it seems. What with getting stranded in the woods, getting all the things that happened in Waterford, it's... The world is burning.
Yes, the world has a very bad habit of it. It's a shame I have so many people to thank for being here.
And since I only got to tell you via text, I should tell you now. Congratulations on the promotion.
Oh. Thank you. It's very much an honor, and it's something I hope I can.
I assume that was why you were called in by Mithras. You don't have to answer, I simply am going to assume that that was part of the reason. After all, he asked for you by name.
Cat's out of a bag.
Yes, now several people know that Francis isn't your name. Well, it's the one you go by currently, but
To be fair, I have quite a lot of names.
as do I. Keep in mind, she did actually tell him her real name, so.
Yeah, I need to note it somewhere.
Katja is just the most recent in a string of names I've taken.
Well, it's part of the freedom of eternity, yes? You can rebuild yourself, reinvent yourself.
Indeed.
Some of my clan actually turn it into something of a game.
Well,
Every few decades, they'll take on an immortal identity.
sounds like fun.
Each one an improvement upon the last. All bouncing off of each other. It's quite fascinating, really.
So I suppose dinner is out of the question. Unless you are still hungry. Not that the food we're about to eat would help terribly much.
No, but I do find it helps take my mind off of things.
True that. I still reach for a glass of wine when I'm stressed out over anything else. Been drinking a lot of wine lately.
You know that wine won't actually get you drunk, right?
I know.
Okay.
She
likes
tries.
the taste.
Drowns herself in the taste of wine rather than the alcohol. It does not prove particularly effective.
I mean, we can invent a Pokemon move named Wine Barrel. It's for the new Pokemon that for searching alcohol and alcohol lick. It's advanced for it's a evolved one.
Yeah, it's the Pokemon they're putting in there, instead of every other one, because they're not putting in the national dex and not letting you transfer your Pokemon. I'm salty.
She would stand up on her toes and kiss Francis on the cheek.
Oh. Would you like to grab something to eat? I'd hate for this evening to be wasted.
Yes, let's grab something and then return to a hotel.
How many hotels do you own? he kind of like
one. Just the one.
To be fair, I could probably get it. He kind of mumbles something to himself. You don't necessarily perceive it all.
She has heightened senses. You know that, right?
I mean, does she have them on, though? That's the important part, because they're not passive. You have to trigger them.
I mean, she probably would have, like, the second that, there were apparently other people. It's like, what? This was supposed to be private.
Okay. He kind of just mumbles something along the lines of, I could probably just take over every hotel in the city, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, I'm certainly not selling mine. I still need to get a new contractor to fix the damage that entire debacle created, but
I do apologize once again. It appears your hotel spends more time closed than open.
I need to find a new contractor. I was going to...
I'm just going to say it like that. Francis' chances of getting laid tonight becomes 0.
I was going to have the keeper do the plans for the remodel, but, well, given my clan's disposition towards him, it might not be smart.
Oh yes, he. Well, I'm not going to give my opinion.
You know, I'm not a fan of my clan. It's fine.
No, I must remark how impressive it is that you remain in charge in spite of that attitude.
I play the game well, my dear.
That you do.
Loki's so quick. He was so close to giving it to Ivanov, just being like, I don't care what your sire is. At least you're a loyal fuckwit.
To be fair, Stalheim doesn't know any of this. And she proved her loyalty when she turned in the salubri.
Mm-hmm.
Put it off as long as she fucking could, but she did it.
Mm-hmm.
She was basically giving the fucking Nosferatu enough time to get there.
Oddly enough, all I remember from that evening is looking up the chart to see how far Whisper could throw someone with potent 6.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I believe
yes.
dinner plans.
Yes, dinner plans. I don't think there's actually too much to add, so if we want to end the scene on them getting dinner, we can do it there.
Yeah, we'll end the scene on them getting dinner.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.